Go ahead.
Another question for her, once she's still here.
Okay, that's fine.
In the township, there's a fee for having a holding tank, okay? There's an ordinance about holding tanks, and there's a fee that you pay upfront about a holding tank. So, if you were to go to a property and that property had a holding tank and they weren't registered as one of the ones who was eligible to have a holding tank, because my understanding is holding tanks only allowed if other systems won't work, is that correct?
That's correct, in residential use. Holding tanks are only to abate a public nuisance. And that's the only reason that you can use a holding tank for residential purposes.
That was my question. So if someone had a holding tank and was using that property for residential use, it wouldn't be a legal system.
It would not.
Thank you.
I have another question before she goes away. If you own, like in my case, I own the property next door, and I have several structures on that property. If I apply for a septic and I want a holding tank rather than a new septic system, can I get one even though I would be approved for the big monstrosity that they normally do?
Not if it's a residential use. You cannot use holding tanks for residential use except to abate a public nuisance.
Okay,
Which
so,
means that to abate if you have a sewage system and it fails.
okay, so if I have a sewage system that's working and my trailer is my workshop and I want to put a bathroom in it, I have to tap into my septic system that I already have. I can't just put a tank out in the ground.
That's correct.
Okay.
I have another question. When was that holding tank, no holding tank ordinance or regulation put through? What was the date?
May 15th, 1972, Act 537 was adopted by the
If
state.
people had holding tanks prior to that, would they not be grandfathered?
That's correct. Should their holding tank stop working, then they would have to.
Right.
And there was a lot that happened between May 15th, 1972 and yesterday. So, we, Municipal Code Association, and our sewage enforcement officers don't go looking for trouble. Trouble finds us on its own. We don't go anywhere in any of our municipalities looking for or smelling for trouble. It finds us all too often.
We made that motion. Anybody else have any more questions for her? Okay. Public comment.
Just here to observe.
Okay. Mary Ann?
No comment.
Ginger?
Nice, it wasn't Saturday and Friday.
Yeah, it is very nice. Anything else?
No, that's good.
Ray?
No comment. I mean, I guess, the roads have been good, but it's kind of premature to say that because it really hasn't been that much like summer, so.
It was bad a little while this morning, or this afternoon, because we had a breakdown. I blew a hydraulic line on the spreader, and we got it. Homer came up and we got it taken apart and put right back together, and everything's good now.
Mike? Teresa?
I just wonder how many township employees around now that are doing flowers.
Yep. It's tough,
Yeah.
Kim.
And you're the only person we have.
Yes.
Okay. It's good thing our weather is staying like it is.
Well, Homer's a backup, aren't you, Homer? Yeah, you're a backup in case you're needed.
Yeah, Homer can plow, yeah.
I just wondered how many people we had.
I've been the only one that has plowed so far, but Homer can plow.
And I believe your name's Becky?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, just, about this fire tax. I don't know, that, how much was supposed to go to the fire company? 1%, was it?
1 mil.
1 mil. Okay, you kinda like, you said you repealed it and it's going into your general fund. Is that money, you're giving them $10,000? Is the rest of that, like, what, 33,000 in your general fund will be put into a fire company general fund, and you're gonna keep it for if they come up with any problems?
No, it's
If
gonna,
they come up with any problems,
oh, I'm sorry.
is it okay?
No, yeah, fine, I'm
If they
sorry.
come up with any problems, and it's a legitimate problem, we will have no problem whatsoever helping them out, giving them the money for it.
You know, I really didn't like the fire tax to begin with, but I was one of those people that did donate before the fire tax. The only good thing about the fire tax is it makes everybody pay,
Right.
and, I don't know. You know, you say you repealed it, but it's now in the general fund, and they only get 10,000 of it.
Well, we need, the township is, gonna use it also. I mean, how we need to use it too. I mean, it's just
If we
not,
need to use it.
that's right.
Say if the township blows a motor up in a fire truck, yeah, we'll have the money there for it. On the same token, if we blow a motor up in a township truck, the money will be there for that use. We're not just gonna spend it, just to spend it.
It'll be in the township general.
It'll be in the township general fund, and we're not gonna use it per se to just buy salt or
No, that's
buy
right.
in a skid or something like that. It's there in case a legitimate need, a legitimate breakdown, or a legitimate need that comes up out of the norm, I guess you should say. Just not, it's not there for everyday use.
And you guys plan on using the liquid fuels money, which the
Right,
state gives you
right.
first and foremost above everything.
Exactly.
As long as you can use it, right?
So there's no legalities, you know, because it was presented to us, oh, this is a fire tax. So you don't have to, did you have to do any write-up to say, okay, it's really not a fire tax now, it's a general fund tax?
Well, we had to amend the budget and we had to, put it in the paper and advertise it, and that's what Mr. Marshall, I'll let him go ahead and answer.
Sure. What it is, when they call it a fire tax, essentially what it is the township is allowed to, assess up to 3 mills to support fire and equipment or whatever. Instead of saying that was what that money was for, they moved the additional millage up into the general revenue fund. And so, when they say there's no longer an assessment that is directly to go to the fire company, it's all part of the general fund, and they are assigning funds from the general funds to the fire company as for operations and then, on an emergency basis. So that's why the tax rate is the same. There really wasn't a separate fire tax, there was a separate assessment that was assigned for that initially, and now that assessment has been moved into the general fund rather than just being for fire and fire prevention purposes. Does that answer your
Yeah,
question?
I would have rather have seen us get the money back instead of it going into the general fund. If you're repealing that tax and it's not going to the fire company, I'd rather see it in my pocket than
Me too.
the general
I agree with her
fund.
100%.
But see, we have a lot of problems with our equipment also. I mean, we're having,
The roads are bad.
yeah, and we're having, our equipment is not the best of shape right now either.
So is that why you guys decided to keep it to 10,000 and not give them any money because of our
No.
equipment being bad?
Well, we can use it how we need to use it. I mean, if we don't have it there, we can't use it, you know? But like I said, we are in support of the fire department.
Yeah, I understand that, but you guys were thinking more of yourselves and the money you needed, so that's why you decided to keep it.
Well, not really. I
No?
mean, I'll be very blunt with you. You probably won't like what I have to say, but
Mhm.
I feel that it's in the best interest of the township to assign them money and have them come working with us than just go out and just throw the checkbook and here you go. That's how I feel. I don't know how they feel, but that's how I feel. I mean, you gotta make it stretch it as far as you can stretch it.
I could see that there should be some, you know, supervision here, but give us the money back, you know?
Do you have anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay, Ray.
Just like I say, the township existed on 7/10 of the mill, is that correct?
On
A
to the
little over
other.
7/10 of the mill, but the fire tax was 1 mill. So the township operates every day. I mean, there's your road maintenance, your plowing, and all checkbook. I think, you know, by the time we get everything fixed up, it's been neglected for the last 10 or 15 years. We'd be lucky if there's any money left.
So if there isn't any left, and if they have a breakdown of a fire truck, there won't be any money to supply
I
that.
think we have 3 fire trucks, don't we? 3? We have 3 fire, we have 3 engines.
Two engines, and the rest of it.
Yeah, plus Pine Grove's a couple miles away, so.
If they show up.
Pine Grove?
I go out there every week.
You guys are relying on other volunteer fire departments to support these guys, and they're the same boat we're in. Everybody works jobs. I can't leave my job and come to a fire or somewhere else. And you guys are relying on another township to assist these guys. If their trucks broke down, Pine Grove will come. Well, you know what,
I
if Pine
didn't-
Grove can't come?
Well, I'm
Who's
just saying-
your next bet?
I didn't say that at all.
No, I didn't say you did.
What he's saying
I'm
is
just
that-
saying, this is the mentality of a lot of people when it comes to fire department.
You're right, you're absolutely right.
And also, you gotta understand this too. You took the funding away from, if the funding folds, if the fire department folds, you guys eat every bit of the bill to keep that fire department going. Every bit, every dime. Then where does the money go? You install fire tax again, so you don't have to eat it.
I never wanna have a fire tax again. Never. I don't know how they feel, but I never wanna have a fire tax again.
Well, that's, you know, in the same token, that's the reason why you rely on educated people that are making decisions on behalf of the entire community at the fire hall, rather than, ooh, I see a truck at an auction, I want it, and I'm gonna spend $25,000. That's why someone that, in the case of the 3 individuals sitting up front here, they've chosen to take that 1 mil of tax, put it back into the general fund, to not only keep it from being spent inappropriately and willy-nilly, but also to keep it in reserve in the event that something does go wrong. Now, because of the way the structure is done in the second-class township, general funds, they're able to spend it as well. But they've made public statements saying that they will not spend general funds money on anything that they cannot pay for with state money. So the last resort of spending that money has been, they've said it right up front that they're gonna spend it at the very least at the very last minute. So if there's an individual at the fire hall, and the fire hall is being run appropriately by a board like they're supposed to be, they're gonna be able to say, hey, you know, next week we should get a hold of the supervisors and tell them we're having a clutch problem in number whatever truck, so that they can anticipate the problem before it hits them in the mouth, and the supervisors will be aware of that, so they can also budget the money for the problem. You can't yell at the supervisors for taking responsibility for the tax dollars. That's the reason they were voted in.
I'm not young, I'm just making a statement.
I
I've been in
know.
the fire service almost 30 years.
Everybody is.
You're on a house fire and you blow a pump on a truck.
Right, but you know, if
How
you're
do you
responsible house,
anticipate that?
if
How
you're,
you can't anticipate that.
if
And that's
you're-
lots and lots of money to repair.
if you're a responsible firefighter, you do not drive around telling elderly people that you're not gonna come to a fire, and Pine Grove isn't either. You just said yourself, right here in this forum, that you can't count on Pine Grove.
No, I said, I'm using them because that's the sister
I've
department.
spoken with the Pine Grove people, and so has my wife before these decisions were made, and Pine Grove is more than willing to come over here and
I
respond
didn't
to
say
fire.
they weren't, I was using that as a hypothetical situation.
I know that, but
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting back to order. Barb, you're next.